Hari Om. So, I would like to discuss today about our core issue. No matter how many philosophies, how many great thoughts, how many meditations you do, practices you do, and things you understand about life, where we fail, where we come across disappointment and betrayal, is the real battlefield, and that battlefield is work, relations, and friendships. Till you do not harmonize that aspect of life, till then you are handicapped as a spiritual person, because spirituality has to finally manifest into everyday relations and everyday actions you are living. So, from the metaphor which I am using to explain your being as a frequency, as a vibration, and from that angle, I would like to share with you that how our frequency, what happens to it in relations, and seen from that angle, it makes you clear about everything in your life which is happening. And that is very important aspect within us to understand, because most of the time we keep on solving relations, friendships, issues of job and love and this and that, but without being aware what is exactly we are looking for, what is exactly the issue is, and that issue is never clarified with a right example or a metaphor or an approach, and that issue gets clouded with many philosophies, different people, their different point of views. But essentially at the core, we are a vibration, and that vibration, it's a constant expansion. It reminds me what Osho said, that there is a law of energy. Either you are expanding constantly. If you don't expand, you will start to contract. That is the yin and yang of the frequency, expansion and contraction. Now, how it applies, it's very interesting, because this has been my issue as well in my life, with friends, with relations, that I am fine alone, I am expanding, but as soon as you enter a relation, a conversation, a work or anything, and you start to suffer, you feel lesser than yourself. You feel you need to go back to your room and sit down in meditation and feel better again. But it does not has to be like that. Your meditation shouldn't end up being your escape, because relationship is the fruits of your expansion. But why those fruits never occur essentially lies the real reason, the mistake, which we are trained into. That mistake is our training. If you look around in nature, you will see that everything grows from seed outwards, even human beings. We are sperm and egg, then we expand into a human being. I like to see it as an explosion. A tree, a human body is a beautiful explosion, like a big bang. Through the time, it keeps on exploding and expanding till it ripens. And same is with our intelligence. A child knows nothing, but he learns few words, he learns few experiences, and through on that, the wisdom starts to expand and explode. And same is with our emotions. So our basic need within us is that our explosion is not interrupted, our expansion, our vibrational frequencies are not interrupted. And that's what we long for. As I say again and again, we are not looking for love, we are not looking for enlightenment, we are not looking for money. All these things imply that you will expand. If you have more money, you can expand. If you have somebody to love, you can expand. Even learning, I'm not talking about so-called education, which trains your mind to bind into few thoughts. Learning is a constant expansion. So this thing has to be remembered at the very core. Forget all philosophies and self-realizations and all that. That in this moment, you are a constant expansion. And whatever your suffering is, it's somewhere that expansion has stopped and you're contracting somewhere. So once you understand this point, then it becomes very easy criterion to see that what is the situation of your job, what is the situation of your relationships, and what is the situation of your inner growth. We can easily get trapped into definitions created by society about us. That is the first betrayal to our expansion. As a child, you come with the expanding energy and you are joyfully, innocently, and enthusiastically expanding. You're touching things, making sounds, and then slowly you are taught words. You are taught definitions about yourself. So you also get trained to define, imprison yourself into few definitions: name of the family, name of the parents, what school you studied, and these becomes your small boxes where your expansion is struggling. And this struggle appears in our life through all our social interactions. Our suffering, our anxiety, our fear. The core of all is that we need to expand, but words, people, relations, everybody. Why we suffer in relation is that when you fall in love, you first time expand in that love. But that is not all of it. As soon as people start to come closer, but inside they are sitting with a contracting and shrinking mechanism of ego and the mind. So you start to define each other, talk to each other, and you start to have boundaries over your expansion. Suffocation in relations is that other is binding you down to their definition of you, to their stories. Everybody wants your attention on their story, and everybody wants what we call so-called understanding, that I want to understand you. That simply means, in today's term, I want to bound you down to few words, and that is what we call understanding the other. That now you have few words for the other. And the same we do with spirituality. We go out there, read books, and listen to different gurus so that you can shrink and tie the reality, the truth, the life to few words and philosophies. So we get punished for that. That is the original sin, the karma, the bad karma is that a thing, a life in you, a life around you which is expanding, a friend around you, a relation around you which needs to expand, you tie it down through your judgments, through your few definitions, and then life reflects back. You also feel bogged down and tied down. And remember, whenever you define somebody, judge somebody, bind them into a certain box, a certain limitation of definitions, you also do that to yourself. That's why you are able to do it outside. The more you do out, more you will feel imprisoned inside as well. So when we expect other to give us expansion, that is the wrong direction to look. You have to give yourself that expansion to free yourself from the crutches of your own words and definitions. And that essentially what spiritual process is. The core issue which we are facing in our life is that your fear, your anxiety, your suffering is when your energy is contracting. And you will see whenever you're full of joy, whenever you experience some joy through wisdom, through love, is that you expand. You become aware of yourself as an expanding vibration in the life. And in that expanding state, you experience life, which is also expanding. So here I am not saying that contraction is bad. These are the rhythms of life. But it's ongoing expanding rhythm which has expansions and contractions as a heartbeat, as a in-breath and out-breath. But the overall pattern of our psychology is to contract ourselves to some securities, to some desires, to some definitions, and you want to stay secure in those definitions and completely ignoring the need of your being to constantly expand. So what happens in our system is that once we have contracted a human being, which is educated adult, and what we offer him as an expansion is way of desires. Because essentially, you don't want things of desire. You basically, it's a longing in you to expand. More money, it pretends to be expansion for you, but it doesn't give you expansion. More relations, more things to have, going to different places around the world, because in you essentially energy wants to expand. You expand with new experiences. Now this is the clue, because this is the solution is going to be. Because whenever, for example, you go out for a bike ride, why people feel good after leaving their city, they go for long drive for 2-3 days or week, because the changing landscape and changing view around you, you experience again the joy, changing landscape, and you feel you are expanding energetically. Even the visually experiences, they are more and more different and different. And that is our essential wisdom's need to constantly exploring more and more different subjects. So now if you apply this thing to your relations, to your way of life, you will realize that in your relation, in your job, you are trapped into a loop and you are contracting and contracting. You're repeating same things. Even with your relations, lovers and friends, you're talking the same things. There are no new experiences happening. And for that, you maybe watch TV or some TV drama series or some movie or have some drugs so you can experience that expansion. And we have taken this as a norm, a usual way of life, and adjusted to it. So you are a pent up energy balloon, and here and there you make little holes into yourself. They are more like leakages. You see, desires and these entertainments are your leakages. In relations also, even sex becomes a leakage, not an expansion of two beings who are interacting and expanding together. It becomes a release of built up tension, because you need to expand. Since you can't expand, so a system offers you sexuality, anger, entertainment to leak yourself out, so you feel again relaxed and normal. Then you build up more energy, but there's a limit. After that, you stop expanding. then again you find a leakage. Like people say, I feel good after doing so and so, I am having sex, I felt so good. No, sex and all those are not to make you feel good, are there to make you feel great. But we have agreed with good. When I talk of juice of life, expansion and juice of life is the same phenomenon, because all expansions are juice, which is love, which is creativity, which is wisdom. Every moment life is changing into new forms, but you are not. Every moment your body is forming new cells, new forms, but psychologically you are not. And slowly, slowly, this restriction and training not to expand has have an impact on your own body. That's what cancer is. Your creative energy contracting. Expansion is creation and contraction is destruction. Your body goes into self destruct mode. That is a nature's way of expanding also, because it has to continuously keep on learning more and more. If it is not, it starts to cancel also whatever you have learned. So that's why old people lose their memories, lose their muscles and all that, because after a while people stop expanding. So the most important expansion, no matter what you do with your body or anything else, is the expansion of your wisdom. If you are not striving to constantly expand with your wisdom, it is going to be your suffering, your fears, your anxiety, and your leakages. In his last days, Osho suggested that decorate your mind with the great literature, with new insights in humanity, because that is the most basic need. If you are doing meditation and all that, being into no mind, but story doesn't end there. Your mind in its interaction with life and world, if you don't give it new horizons, new understandings, new arts, new skills to learn, it will fall victim to the old pattern and stagnant patterns, because it's not fault of your mind which is harassment to you. It is your essential attitude that you are not giving your child the constant expansion it needs. And same is true in relationships. Even when lovers are together, they shouldn't just talk every day the same thing. They should make a conscious effort. Both of them may be learning new things and discussing about those and coming up with new insights, challenging each other's intelligence instead of challenging each other's ego in the name of power game of relation. When two people are learning together and discussing, learning about new philosophies, new insights into spirituality, into art, into science, and this expansion together of the mind deepens the bond of love. And I have seen mostly relations fail. I see in relations how they're interacting, people who are together for 1 or 2 years. They have set behaviors with each other. And you can see they will look at you in a different way, but when they look at the girlfriend or boyfriend, a certain stagnant way and expectation from the other. And that is nobody's fault, because we are trained like that. But all this you cannot expect from other to expand. Like people say, I feel lonely, I feel so unloved, and you wait from outside, from others love to happen. No, revolutions happen within first. If you want love, start giving out love. If you want interactions, don't wait for other to interact. Develop a capacity to go out there, challenge the routine way of interacting with friends, introduce something new and challenge their wisdom, something interesting, something expanding. So for that you have to be creative. that how to inspire the interest of other as well, and how to inspire your interest into new things, and that brings a new flow, new juice into your relations. And same is true about the work. In work also, you strive to learn more and more. So what we call a usual boring drag of everyday routine, it is your fault because you have submitted to it and you have decided that this is how it is going to be. No, life never gives you any absolute patterns to live in. If your mind is creative and available, even within your routine of everyday job, you can strive to learn more and more. And you can keep on educating yourself through books, even internet. See new interesting channels where you're learning something more. So if you want to get rid of an addiction of YouTube, let's say, the lesser evil is find new things where each time you put on internet, YouTube, that your aim should be after 1 hour, 2 hours, whatever, you are going to learn something new about life. Not that same usual news and same routine patterns you go to of entertainment and this and that. This process which I'm sharing with you is from personal experiences, and this is the process which is where you make your everyday life your ashram. You catch the devil right in its action. So instead of striving that one day I will go to mountains and live in an ashram and become peaceful and all that, that is a fancy dream because you do not know what you're talking about. Because many people say, I want to go to mountains one day after I earned money and then I will live peacefully in mountain. This is a fantasy. It's like a spiritual pornographic fantasy. Because I usually suggest them first try to live there for 1 week. Don't have this too many great ideas about yourself that how great you are, lover of nature. Because within 3 days I have seen living in mountains, people start to freak out. They become restless. Their shit starts to come out. They psychologically feel very disturbed because you are addicted to drama and chaos of cities and societies. And once you're left alone, you become aware of the chaos inside you and you have never dealt with it. And there, your life becomes a nightmare. Leaving aside spirituality and materiality, if every morning you make this your commitment that you will learn something more, you will become more creative into your usual actions. So you push yourself to expand, educate your mind with new things, new understandings, improvise on your actions. For that, you have to develop an attitude of creativity. That is why my insistence is so much on creativity. What we call Shakti, Durga, the cosmos, is nothing but constant creativity. There is no creation in this cosmos. It's only creativity going on. Creation is a human idea. Creation is a set object. That's how we come to know people, as a set object. So and so name, that is the person. And you have killed that person and bound that person, and that is what we are doing with life. We are giving it definition and setting it, and hence your life becomes boring and hell because you have made life limited. A river, you have made it a piece of rock, of a thought. And that's the same we do with each relation, each job, and with ourselves. Oh, I am kind of this kind of person. Oh, I am negative person. Oh, I do these things. No, you're bounding yourself. You notice something in you, just look at it and forget about it. That is enough. In that looking, you have evolved from that pattern. Looking, I means really looking, not just noticing in the head as a thought. Experiencing the feel of you in a certain pattern, and if you keep on feeling, it will evolve. because now Shiva is present with your pattern Shakti. And once Shiva is there, your presence is there, it evolves. And that is the key to healing also. Most of the sickness is psychological, physical. Most of the sicknesses in the society of violence, rape, aggression is that energy looking for expansion. And what we do, we put them in jails, contract them further. Yes, it is safe system for society, but on human level, it is a sin. Because no matter what humans are, what others are, essentially at the core, they are the cosmic energy which needs to expand. Till we do not create a social system within and without, that how to keep on evolving and expanding. And that should be your criterion, which relation to continue and which relation to end. Any relation doesn't allow you to expand, you leave that relation. Any relation, any friendship makes you expand, you should be loyal to. And that should be the criterion for your life also. Constantly expanding into new dimension, learning new things. Then you will see even in chanting, you're not doing one chant, you're constantly expanding as a flame. Because look at flame, it's constantly expanding. So on personal level, you have to start to taste the feel of expansion. That's why I suggest chanting Om every day or doing some creative activity. So you're connected with your original pattern, which is expansion, which is given to you by life. And that expansion means evolution. That expansion means growth. And that expansion is just not a neutral thing which is expanding like a balloon. It's a diverse, complex movement into growth. So all challenges in your life are challenge for you to expand. When you start to fight a problem, you contract. When you start to fight a issue, fight a person, fight a complexity of relation, you start to contract because that is your dead end. After that, you cannot expand because you don't want it. But when you try to understand and contain that issue as part of your challenge, you expand, you become bigger than that problem, that issue, that situation. So, internally, the attitude of wisdom is that it is relentless expansion. That's what Ganesha means. That it removes all the obstacles because this sound Om, which is the cosmos, it's constantly expanding. It doesn't stop anywhere. Doesn't stop at any thought, any situation, any relation. It constantly keep on expanding. And to get the blessing of expansion, you have to make expansion, Ganesha, the way of your life. That means help others to expand. Who is a great friend? As I said, that not a person who helps you when you are contracting, that is just half part of it. But a person or a friend who makes you become more than you are, who inspires you to become more than you are. Not that a person or a relation constantly bogging you down into their psychology all the time and asks you to fit into their psychology. That's why relations become suffocating. We feel suffocated, and that's why extramarital affairs or betrayal of sex energy happen in relations, because you're bound in a pattern and your energy wants to explore more. If that relation offers you that expansion through intelligence, through exploration of different emotions and doing things together, exploration of new actions, and these issues of sexual betrayal in relation will disappear, because Our need is not for multiple partners. Our need is for multiple dimensions to explore. Just by going to another person, from one relation to another, you briefly feel you expanded, but that same person becomes boring again. Then you look for another energy dimension to explore with. And this way you are depleting yourself constantly. So, only way not to leak and deplete your creative energies, your spiritual energies, engage those energies into more and more expansion. Engage your frequency and vibration of your being to expand into more activities, more dimensions of the life. Because there is no static way that once you are withdrawn from the world, now you sit with yourself in peace and in silence. And all the monks who do that, they don't live very long, because life needs constant engagement and a challenge to expand into. But in today's time, we see challenge as a blockage, whereas challenge is an invitation for expansion. Because life, creativity is a constantly breaking the barriers and expanding. To bring new forms into life, you have to break the old forms. That what suffering is, that what challenge is. The way you were, it ceased to work, and then you come across a blockage. You say, okay, I do not know what to do. Now don't try to do anything outside. Break your limits. That are you defining yourself in a limited way, hence you are seeing this as a problem. Why not take that also part of your life and see yourself expanded as a different person into new action. So we have, even though we want joy, even though we want love, but we have resistance for the new, because new is creative and new is insecure. And ego, our training is old, and we are secure and stagnant. It's like we are living in a small puddle of water and we long for freshness and flow, but we are afraid of river also, because constant movement, your ego, your mind does not get any chance to hold on to one city on the way. It will keep on moving. So river is alive because it's constantly dying, means constantly moving on. So that has to be your inner state as a frequency if you want to understand that, which I talk about your core frequency from your navel center. Then it becomes secondary frequency of emotions. Then it becomes third, the sub-frequency of emotions into thoughts. And thoughts are where you start to put things into boxes, into limits of words. But wise person is the one who keeps their river of thoughts also flowing and expanding and learning more and more. And that is the only way you can survive. People who contributed something to life were the people whose minds, whose bodies, whose emotions were a constant flow, by their will or by the design of nature. And that is the way for humans. And today's whole suffering is everybody, every segment of humanity is bound into some nationality, to some thought, to some philosophy. Somebody is communist, somebody is Democrat, somebody is Republican. Why we have such a longing to be defined? Because we want to feel secure. And that's the same way we use our relations. We make it our security. But if we could make our relation our expansion and allow insecurities, the changing other human being is not your property, and you coordinate with their change, also expand with them, then you will know a love, a connection which has another dimension. That is the love which Tantra talks about, where you both merge into each other and become the whole cosmos. That is the samadhi through sex. Because other is a door of the cosmos, but we try to make it our definition and keep it in the pocket. and keep it some selfies about each other. But whereas if you keep forgetting who the person was yesterday, you're just looking at the new person now. And that is the state of totality. Totality means that you are not looking at the other through past images. You are looking at this person in front of you. There comes a freshness, and same is the way to approach yourself. Don't expect things from yourself which happened to you or expected yesterday, but stay with what you are feeling now and how you're vibrating right now, and cooperate with that, and trust that core frequency, the core sound of you, what song it is singing right now. And that song is the song of freedom. Freedom is not a goal, freedom is a constant movement. Freedom is not like a journey you reach somewhere. Freedom is a constant movement, uninterrupted. That's where you realize that you are divine. You are infinite expansion. And that can be tasted into your job, into your relations. So, these are the key points to understand within ourselves, that what our essential need is, and that should be the criterion to see. For example, you're looking at a tree. You don't know that you are not looking at tree, you're looking at your thoughts about the tree. As soon as you see the tree, your thoughts start about the tree. This is the shape, this is the name of the tree. Now you are bounding the tree. You're limiting the tree as well as limiting yourself. Whereas your wisdom within you, your perception within you could become a tree without naming it and expand through the beauty of the tree, the constant changing energy of the tree. And briefly, in the moment of beauty, your mind is dropped by the magnificence of the beauty, and briefly you expand. That's the experience of beauty. You say, wow, so beautiful. But soon you take your smartphone out and take a selfie and walk away. And you have again bound the beauty into your camera, and you have bound yourself into your mental ego routine of gathering things but not really living them. Same we do with relations. We gather people and keep them in our memories and live our memories, not the people. To live a live person is a challenge. That's why relationships are challenging and humanity is failing. Very few people are successful because it's challenging, because for a relation to be successful, you have to be constantly breaking your own boundaries and expanding and helping other to expand. Never compromise on expansion. That's what really freedom means. That's what really love means, constant expansion. And we bound each other down to few definition, few name of relations, etc., etc. And in the end, you realize that you never lived life. Life is a live fire. You can experience it only when you are also live with it. So keep that in mind. The core point is that keep learning more, be creative, and in relations, inspire each other, do new things together, do new meditations together, share about them, so that the mind doesn't fall into the patterns, because mind needs engagement. If it doesn't get new engagements for its creativity, it will take out the old memories. I did this in the past, you remember you did this in the past, it was so nice, and blah blah blah, it can go on. But you are living in a graveyard then. This is what happens to relation and marriage. They start to live in a graveyard of memories. There are only ghosts there. But relation or life is about forming new gardens and forgetting the old. Let buried be buried. You grow new plants on it. And that is the best use of dead bodies. The wisdom learned from the past experience is the manure on which grows the new seeds of experiences and wisdom. But for that, on the core or the personal level, you have to get in touch, you have to taste the feel of expansion. That's what meditation is, that's what chanting is, that's what wisdom of masters is. If you look at this criterion and read scriptures, you will see in basic way they all are talking about expansion. That you expand and expand, that's you become the cosmos, because you are the cosmos. Right now you are in a seed form, and your longing is to become a tree, to create more seeds, more fruits, so you can make whole earth the garden. So that is our potential. Acknowledge it and take up the challenge to live yourself, which means to expand yourself. And then you will know what the lion's roar is. What is a lion's roar? It is expansion of the energy. And that lion's roar is the roar of cosmos. That's what we call Narsimham, half man, half lion, the Vishnu. It's roaring, it's exploding. So then you will know what bravery is, what confidence is. Confidence is not that I don't care about others, but your expansion is not hesitant. You are not doubting, because mind is not there. You are just expanding and learning. It has the innocence of a child. Child is expanding with its new experiences. When it looks at a tree, child expands with that new experience. But when we look at a tree, we contract the tree also into names, because we are in state of contraction. So take up the challenge always to be more than who you are right now. That is the only way. Hari Om. Namaste.
Shri Ramachandra Kripa